this valley would have been bustling with the king's enterprising subjects and filled with the smog from thousands of cooking fires. Herds of livestock grazed in the valley.
Archaeologists have discovered so many bones of cattle in this valley that it could be nicknamed the Valley of the Dry Bones. And that shouldn't surprise us, really, because cattle sustain this society.
Surprisingly, however, archaeological finds suggest that only the ruling elite ate the beef from the cattle. Livestock served as a sign of status.
These institutions were organized around ownership of great herds of cattle. And the chiefs who grew into petty kings were people who controlled enormous herds of cattle. They could lend these cattle out, and so they built up a system of subordinate chiefs within small kingdoms.
Cattle became the banking system for the wealth accrued from brokering the trade in gold with the merchants on the Swahili coast. In addition to gold, the Zimbabwe Plateau was also rich in another natural commodity coveted by those traders from the coast.
There's one very important product along the Limpopo River. It was a great area of elephant herds. And Swahili merchants coming south discovered that they could get ivory there.
As late as the 16th century, about 40 tons of ivory were being exported every year from the Swahili coast. Similar amounts were exported during the heyday of Great Zimbabwe, and on every load transported across the kingdom, Great Zimbabwe's rulers took a 50% cut.
The hunters went out to do the killing of the elephant. One tusk had to go to the chief or the king. They kept the other tusk. And then what starts happening with the gold? So with half of the gold profits and half of the ivory profits going to the king, that gives the king all kinds of power. Now it becomes a tool of state building.
Great Zimbabwe's enormous significance can be gleaned not just from the goods it exported, but from those it imported into Africa as well. Shards of Ming Dynasty porcelain from faraway China have been discovered here, suggesting that great Zimbabweans like to dine in style.
During the Ming Dynasty, they were getting blue on white porcelain.
Really?
Yeah, which was used for making plates.
If you had said this when I was growing up, no one would have believed it. The myth of Africa was that all these Africans were running around, not being very bright, waiting for some European to discover them. But you're saying that's total rubbish.
The so-called the myth of a dark continent does not hold water. If you look at 1,000 years of exchange between this part of the continent with the Indian Ocean, the coast, and then of course beyond to the Middle East,
In
India
other words,
and China.
The world was multicultural over 1,000 years ago.
Absolutely, absolutely.
By the 1420s, Great Zimbabwe was in decline. A new trade route allowed Swahili merchants to circumvent the old routes, diverting gold before it ever reached Great Zimbabwe, leading to its decline and Kilwa's as well. But these towering ruins bear witness to the civilization that dwelled here so regally for centuries.
It tells us that Africans were building cities in the 13th century and 14th century and 15th century, contrary to this notion that Africa is, to some people, it's a place where there are animals and you have a couple of villages. But it shows that there was substantial technological and architectural development, and that all these exploits were the work of Africans.
There's been debate about what is a civilization. Civilization has been rather sort of wrongly defined as the ability to write, leave texts. I believe in its own way, this place is a text.
It is a text.
It is a text because a text is about communicating messages. So this is a medium through which you can communicate messages.
This is a sublime manifestation of the human spirit.
Absolutely.